2 o'clock. Good afternoon. Just as a form of introduction, my name is Noko Masipa. I am the chairperson on this portfolio of agriculture, economic development, and tourism. Today, we are here gathered to consider the adjusted appropriation bill on the economic development. I would like to give members an opportunity to introduce themselves, and thereafter the minister will assist in introducing the officials and the department. Honorable members, with a show of hands, can I recognize Honorable?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Good to see you.
Khalil Barankes, full member of the Agricultural Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Barankes.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, MEC. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Noel Constable, and I am a permanent member of this committee. Thank you very much.
Sure. Honorable Vessel.
Good afternoon, Minister. I'm Dirk Wessels, and I'm a permanent member of this committee. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Vessel.
French Mbombo, member of the committee. Thank you.
Afternoon, my name is Naomi Nkondlo. I'm a member of the committee.
Honorable Stoffel.
Afternoon, Chairperson. Afternoon, MEC. My name is Beauty Stoffel. I'm alternate member of committee.
Thank you, honorable members.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, Chairperson. My name is Gillian Postman. I'm an alternate to this committee, and I'm standing in for Member Dave Bryant.
Thank you, honorable members. And with me is Shireen Nikerk, and that we correct, but also to note the apology of Honorable David Bryant. I hand over to the Minister for quick introduction of the department.
Thank you, Chairperson and members of the committee. My name is Ivan Meyer. I will now give an opportunity for the staff to introduce themselves, starting with the HOD to my right.
Good afternoon, standing committee members. We are looking forward to the engagement. I'm joined by our DDG and acting DDG, Rashid Tofi, as well as Ilse van. She's on her way, but as well as our CFO Mimuna Abrams, and then our program managers Nizam Joseph, as well as John Peters, and John Peters is responsible for integrated enterprise development services, and Nizam Joseph is responsible for skills development. Cheryl Julies is essentially responsible for strategic operations support. And then online, we have a number of our entities that are joining us. I'm going to ask if each of the CEOs can take a moment just to introduce their teams in the following order. So we've got Renal Stander, who is the CEO of Westgrow. Renal, welcome. And can you just please introduce your team members, please?
Thank you very much, HOD. Good afternoon, Chairperson and Minister and members. On the line with me today are Dr. Shirley Zinn, our Chairperson. We've also got our Vice Chairperson, John van Rooyen, and the CFO, Sandisa Nwabe, and myself. So that's all from Westgrow. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. You can proceed to the next.
Thank you very much, Chair. Next up, I'm going to ask Matt Cullinan, from the CEO from Atlantis SEZ, to please introduce his team.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister, HOD, members of the Standing Committee. Thank you. My name is Matt Cullinan, the CEO of the Atlantis SEZ. And on the also on this meeting are Wahida Saib, the CFO of the Atlantis SEZ, and Sadika Dango, who's the accounts manager. I think our apologies from our board chair, Mr. Salim Fakir. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may proceed, Chair, I'd like to, lastly but not least, like to introduce Neville Maikes. He is acting CEO of the Free Port in Saldanha. Neville is, just also to note that Neville's currently sitting in, I think, somewhere in Rwanda or somewhere up in Africa. So he's definitely doing the remote thing, and we really glad that it's this discussion is on Teams. But Neville, if you can introduce your team, please.
Thank you, HOD. Good afternoon, Minister. Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Neville Maikes. With me, I've got Herman Bonschaft, who is our CFO. I am also with the board chair, Ms. Stieneke Jansma, who is also present in this meeting. Thank you, and thank you, HOD.
Thank you. Honorable members, we are here to deliberate on Vote 12, Economic Development and Tourism, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2024. I will now hand over to Minister to provide an overview together with the HOD. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all the members of staff that is also physically here with me at Cromer, at Elsenburg, and also online. I'm not going to waste time. I had a meeting with the staff to look extensively into the adjustment budget in preparation for this meeting. So I don't think we need to waste any time. I'm handing immediately over to the HOD and to the CFO.
With your permission, Chair, I'm also going to follow the same route as the Minister, is to keep it brief, just to say that the adjustments obviously reflects the end of the last 5 years of our strategic plan, but then also we started to prep for the new 5-year that's very much in alignment with the G4J. So a number of the shifts and budgets changes is we don't think it's material, but it's essentially to start getting up the department for the next 5 years of our 7th administration. So Maimuna, if you could please take us through the presentation that you prepared. Thank you very much.
Thank you, HOD, and good afternoon, members. So I've been asked to provide a brief presentation in terms of what some of our key adjustments are. So perhaps to start off with, I think just to remind us all what an adjustment estimate is, it provides the department an opportunity to make permissible revisions to the budget in responses to changes that affects planned government spending for that year. I think that HOD, as part of our opening, has highlighted what the move or the end of one 5-year cycle and the start of the next. And I think this adjustment estimate starts speaking to how we are actually going to be embarking on our new strategic journey. So this would be the broad summaries that's being reflected within the 24-25 financial year, or the key adjustments. So starting off for the financial year 24-25, we started with a budget of 480 million. And we ended with a budget of 501 million approximately. And the key adjustments to that budget is additional funding that has come through as part of what we call provincial funding, shifts between votes, which I'll speak to in the next slides, our rollover request that's been approved, and then the realignment of certain projects. So essentially, as a department, our budget has increased in this financial year by approximately 20 million or 21 million. So the additional funding that we received from Provincial Treasury, it's a 4.7 million rand for the green hydrogen project. And that's basically in response to the green hydrogen master plan. And then we received an additional 20 million from Provincial Treasury to support Freeport Saldanha with their current cash flow challenges. Then in terms of the key shifts, where we've actually shifted money either by providing another department funding or receiving funding. So for our department, we provided .P with 600,000, and that is for specifically for Microsoft licenses. That is a cost that the department incurred. And then we received money back from Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport for the EPRI project. And that's based on the EPRI not being rolled out in the subsequent years. Then all our rollover requests has been approved. And for our department, it's minor amounts. It's College of Cape Town, which is specifically a beneficiary of our booster program. 600,000 for our export competitiveness enhancement program. And then a rollover for one of our projects called JET IP. Then we received a rollover for Atlantis SEZ, and that's just for a study to pay for or complete a study with regard to the Atlantis SEZ financial sustainability. And then lastly, we received a rollover for a business technology and innovation program. Then just in terms of the realignment, and this is where we ask Provincial Treasury to roll over funding to the next year based on various reasons, savings or funding that we're not going to be able to, starting late with projects and not being able to actually implement the project in that year. And for this adjustment estimate, we've asked them to roll over 4.661 million rand worth of savings for our COE, and that's mainly because of the COE process brought about by the new DPSA requirement that is causing a lot of delays in filling of our posts or the approval processes around our filling. Then 500,000 for a technology sector research project, and then 549,000 for the port logistics strategy. And then the funding that we're receiving from DCAS for the Formula E grant, EPRI project, we're asking Provincial Treasury not to give it to us in this year, but rather to roll it over for next year in order for us to actually have a proper project conceptualization around what we would like to do with that money. Then we've got a number of environments, and I'm not going to go into the detail of all of them, but it's a number of environments, and that is mainly due, I think the one that I want to highlight is the first one, because that's the big one, and that's a 5 million that's also going to Saldanha IDZ, and that's again to support the entity with the cash flow challenges at this moment. So that's a number of environments. Again, I'm not going to go into the detail because it is in the full adjustment estimate. And then, Chair, I think that's it for me. That's the summary of the adjustment estimate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, honorable members. That's the vote 12 summary presented by the department as well as the overview that was provided. I allow hands for questions of clarity, and obviously, if there are inputs that members want to make, you are free to raise your hands. I don't see any hands. Honorable Ngonjo. See Honorable Ngonjo. I see Honorable Constable. Are there still two hands? Okay, Honorable Ngonjo, you can go.
Thank you, Chairperson. On page 303, the Chair, under the aim, I would like the department and the minister maybe to explain to us when they say the department will support the implementation of the jobs theme in the Western Recovery Plan and Provincial Strategic Plan. What do they mean exactly? This because I would seek not a generic response, but specificities of what is the area of focus of this department when they say they will implement the jobs theme. So I'm interested, and I don't want to belabor at this point. I want to hear from the department exactly what is it that they are gonna be doing. Then my second one, Chair, I'm actually very worried about Program 7, skills development and innovation. And I see here that this program, a total of 3.4 has moved out of this particular program. And I think its funds has been explained, I think, where it's going. Of funds to provide for COE, shift in economic classification. If we check in page 3, I think from page 312, from page 312 to page 313, where it's contributing to also funding some programs of sub-program 5.2, 5.6. Now, my concern is that this is one picture, as one of the members who have been in this committee. This is one picture that one is just too familiar, that this particular program of skills development, every budget adjustment, money gets to be removed to other sub-programs. And my concern is on the numbers, on the mandate, on the target of this particular program in terms of APP. What is the relationship of shifting the money from this particular skills development and innovation program, to other things? Is it because this particular program is unable to spend? And I'm raising this because historically, and data would be able to prove this, that this particular program is unable to spend. And if it is unable to spend, what is the meaning of the contribution of this very program on a policy priority that is very important for this economy and this particular department of skills development? So I want to just stop there for now for those two questions, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Ngoncho. Honorable Stubble.
Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity. Chair, I have one question at the moment. The one relates to the Freeport Saldanha project. And the question is the support that we're giving regarding the cash flow challenges. There's two amounts that was mentioned. The one is the 20 million, and then there was a 5 million. Does that calculate, or must we now add the 5 million to the 20 million, meaning it's 25 million? And then the other question is, what exactly is the challenges that Freeport Saldanha is having? Can they please give us the gist of the challenges so that we can understand why so much money is given in support of Freeport Saldanha? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Constable. Honorable Stoffer.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, colleagues, and also afternoon to the Minister and his entire team there. Chair, mine is simple. It's on page 314. And the question is as follows. Why the 4.6 million reduction from compensation of employees, which posts and vacancies have not been filled, and why? Why, when the priority is to grow the economy and this department chooses to reduce enough hands and brains to tackle economic development and challenges in the province? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, honorable members. Minister and HOD, over to you.
Thank you to the members and thank you to the committee. There are three questions that I have seen. One from Honorable Member Nkontlo about the area of focus. The HOD will answer that because that question was, what is the actual purpose and goals of this department? Secondly, about the skills development and innovation. Thirdly, Honourable Member Constable, what is exactly the challenges at the Freeport Saldanha? What is the gist of the matter? And whether that 20 million and 5 million is inclusive or what it is, the HOD will answer that. And Honourable Member Stoffel asked a question about page 314, dealing with the 4.6 million reduction in the COE. The HOD will answer.
Thank you very much. I think with regards to the first question by Honourable Member Nkoslo, what do we mean when we say the jobs theme? I think in the recovery plan. So in 2019, the department set out the 5-year strategic plan. It had prioritized a number of themes, but I think what happened is COVID upended it. And so there was an immediate response around how can we do a bounce back and a bounce up, and how do we protect the jobs given COVID and the fact that the economy effectively came to a standstill. So the focus was just immediate relief around how do we support our citizens, and hence the job theme that that was linked to the recovery plan. It has been about 3 years. There's still effects of the COVID on the economy. Some sectors have seen better recovery than others. So, for example, our tourism has now exceeded the levels prior to COVID, but in other sectors, the effects are still felt. And so to a certain extent, we're in a little bit of a transition period. There are some initiatives that we embarked on that is still very valid and still required, and so we still continue with that. But we are morphing and transitioning over to the growth for jobs themes and strategies, where the emphasis is really around economic growth, which in itself will then result in jobs. And so there's a slight, I would say, dual parallel process that we are going through with respect to that. And that's why you see both of the recovery plan as well as the growth for jobs reflected in the introductory paragraph. So that's that issue. I think with regards to the program 7, again, the growth for jobs has emphasized the importance of skills development as a key pathway for our citizens to enter into the economy with the tool sets and the skills that they require. And so with program 7, I'm going to ask Nizam to maybe add, but if I could just say that program 7, the skills development, particularly around the tech side of it, there's been essentially an oversubscription. So we would have exceeded the APP targets. And so therefore we felt that to get balance, there needed to be a greater emphasis around the tech and innovation projects within program 5, because the one thing is you can't produce the skills if you don't have sufficient demand in the economy. And so the balance was making sure that we were able to stimulate the demand in the tech and the innovation PFA as it lands in the department, while simultaneously trying to develop the tech skills. So it's making sure that we look at both the supply and the demand. But Nizam can add perhaps to that if he wants to. They certainly shot the lights out as far as the targets are concerned. And they have, well, sometimes initially a little bit slow in the budget expenditure, have always been quite consistent around spending all of their budgets, and often Nizam demands as much as the department is able to give him around the skills programs that he oversees. Do you want to answer? Maybe just add to that before I go to the Freeport issues. Is that okay?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, I think you've said it all. I can't remember a single year in which the program spent less than 99% of its budget. We are oversubscribed. I want to thank Finance for all of their support in ensuring that we're compliant. It's also the most audited program in the department. And we've always spent very compliantly. So thank you to Finance in that regard. Yes, you are right, Joe. We are oversubscribed every year by a considerable amount. We not only spend our own money, Minister, but we typically crowd in around about 200 million rand a year from the private sector or other government sources, and all of those funds are spent. And even though you only see experiential learning, all our programs comes with accredited skills programs, and there's also 80% retention for everyone that completes the program. So no, we don't have a problem in spend. Thank you.
Chair, may I continue to deal and maybe respond with regards to the Freeport? Should I just go here?
We will now proceed
Please
to
go
answer the
ahead,
questions
Chair.
about the Freeport.
So we, Chair, we do have Neville that's on board, and he can perhaps add to what I'm just going to say now. So the amount that's been assigned to the Freeport is essentially two buckets, if you like. So it's 25 million for the operational funding of the Freeport, and that's to a deal and support, as the CFO was saying, to support them around their immediate cash flow issues. So they have a very strong asset balance sheet at this particular point in time, with well over R1 billion worth of assets. They have a robust pipeline, and Minister, we just met with one of the prospective investors last night. Possibly the pipeline that the Freeport has in place, almost happening, is probably going to see some of the biggest investments that this province has ever seen, in excess of 50 billion rand. But part of the problem is in the gestation period, that the time that it takes to land these investments, because of some of the interdependencies on stakeholders such as Transnet, it takes a little while, and we're seeing this as a fairly short-term, a medium-term requirement of the Freeport before they're well on their way to self-sustainability. So the amount is essentially for the cash flow, and then also the other issue is the green hydrogen provides substantial prospects and opportunities for the province, but it's still a little bit nascent. There's still one or two things in terms of the enabling conditions that we need to put in place. And we think that once that is bedded down, that the Freeport will be well on its way to being one of the best SEZs, not only in the country, Minister, but definitely on the continent. Certainly other investors, outside foreign investors, see the opportunity with respect to the entity and the infrastructure and their location. But Neville, I'm not quite sure if you wish to add, with your permission, Chair, one or two extra things to add to what I just said.
Thank you so much, HOD, and the Chair, with the support of our Minister, the DG and the HOD, we've also managed to put together a recovery plan, which really sought to aggressively look at a substantial cost reduction in terms of how we operate the free zone, but maximizing our efforts on the attraction of investors. So the bulk of what the HOD has indicated now in the response is really enshrined as part of our process towards self-sustainability. The cash injection will assist us to just cross the line to get to that point. We were affected by a number of dependencies which were beyond our control, as HOD has indicated, TNPA, as well as market conditions for some of our projects. But we're quite hopeful that we'll be able to cross the line fairly and very, very well. Our Minister has put us on tight timelines, and we've got to deliver on what we've promised that we would deliver on in our recovery plan. Thank you, HOD, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
Chair.
Minister. Yeah.
The last question about the filling of the posts, Chair. So it's thanks. So we have not filled critical posts, despite the fact that with the growth for jobs strategy, there's an incredible expectation on us to deliver, and that's going to require capacity, particularly because our fiscus doesn't necessarily allow us to to actually fund the initiatives, which means that we have to go through partnerships, but partnerships require relationships and relationships require people. I think what hit us hard was, and across the province, in fact, I think across the country, was the DPS circular that added in considerable extra steps for us to be able to even fill the posts, to get the approval to fill the posts, added considerable time to the processes. So at the moment, we have 34 posts that have been approved by the Premier. We're in the process of filling these posts. 17 are essentially at job evaluation stage. So again, the DPSA regulations say that every 5 years you have to do another job evaluation to make sure that the job description and is still relevant in terms of purpose and function. DPSA has introduced a new system which has added some complexity to that process. So of the 34 posts, 17 are in job evaluation stage, 17 are in recruitment and 17 in recruitment and selection phase, and they're in various stages of being advertised and interviews. That's right. So we're hoping to actually fill those posts, hopefully within the financial year, but in certain cases, it may have to spill over into the new financial year. But we feel the pressure of not having the capacity given our ambitions and our targets and goals. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The HOD, I see there are 2 more hands for round 2. Are they the only hands? Going once, going twice. The 2 hands are recognized is Honorable Bombo, Honorable Constable. I see the late hand of Honorable Stoppel and Nkontlo. Honorable Bombo, you can go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure whether you can hear me. I don't have this headsets. Can you hear me?
We can hear you very clear.
Okay, thank you very much, Minister and the department. Actually, I was not going to ask much questions except what the HOD has alluded to the posts and also about when I was talking about the Saldan. The department forms part of the key risk factor service delivery risk in the province. It's part of those under the economy cluster or sector. One of those is about organizational redesign, which will impact on the operational efficiency and effectiveness according to Provincial Treasury in terms of the risk factors within the whole province. So that we don't have an organizational. It's not me. It doesn't come from me. So what is the time frame? When do you think you'll be able? Because now you are talking about the post that will be filled, and also that's like now the people is giving you the go ahead of when are you going to be able to be fully functional when it comes to having the organizational redesign? 2, part of the risk factors is related to the your TPAs, to manage the TPAs. I think that's why probably I'm making an assumption when I'm looking at your agencies, like a Westro, there was that, for example, the overspending by 14.5 during the end of the second quarter or something. Also, the issue, I understand that it was the issue of the investor center that issue. And then the other part is about the issue related. Now we're talking about the Saldanha IDZ in regarding to the cash flow. So those 2 main things, the organizational redesign, what is your time frame in order to make sure that we have got a fully fledged department or institution? And then the last one about the department's ability to manage the TPAs. What is your time frame? Because we don't want when we come back in the new financial year, you still, like the approach of the RMA Foito, we still don't have A, B, C, D. What is your time frame? Thank you very much.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable Constable.
Yeah, this is not a new question. This is also not a. I don't want them to answer now. But if you allow me, if the procedural officer can maybe put my question on the Freeport, because I don't believe it was answered to the fullest. But if we can have another bite on it in our resolutions and maybe discuss it later on, because I want the detail of the operations where that 25 million will be spent. But we can deal with it in the resolutions again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Constable. We'll deal with it in the resolution as you proposed. Honorable Stoffel.
Once again, afternoon, Chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Through you, Chair, MSC, can the post be filled, please? It's very essential. It's crucial that those posts must be filled. And then to my question is, how is the G4J focused on the rural economy and jobs? And can the department share with us the specifics of that? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Stoffel. Honorable Gonto, your turn.
No, thank you, Chair. Chair, let me start with a follow-up on the responses I was given. Under Program 7, it's written, and it's not my writing. Skills Development and Innovation has spent 25.8, which is 7% during the first 6 months of this financial year, in comparison to 16.6 million, that is 16.7% during the first 6 months of the last financial year, which is 2023-2024. So when I refer to a concern mid-year spending in Program 7, I'm not talking about the inability close the financial year to spend the money. When you are half into the year, the expectation is that you are half also in as far as your spending, unless you can demonstrate or you can share with us what is it that would make you to be only below, only reaching levels like 16.7% in the last financial year, same time, or at this point, 27.3. So that is what I was referring to about my concern on skills development. And it may be HOD with Nizam. If you guys are saying everything is well in this department, perhaps we must go back into planning. What exactly, if we're able to meet all the targets with the monies that we have, and at this point, sitting at 27.3% of spending, you've already achieved the targets. What exactly are these things that were sitting in the annual performance plan? Are we shortchanging the very mandate of skills development? If indeed we can, half into the year, sit and say we've already achieved our targets, and actually we are on almost a quarter of a spend. So that would be my follow-up question on the response that you guys have given. And then on the issue of the implementation, I was asking once again there, what exactly is the specific role in terms of activities of this department? Actually, if you see across the book, you know, the number of thousands taken, hundreds of thousands taken from different sub-programs to fund what you term G4J system. I think there's 176,000 from which is going to be on 5.1 economic policy and planning. So I'm trying to understand specifically what are your specific activities as this particular department in as far as G4J is concerned. Do you set up a system to coordinate other departments? Because my understanding was that it's a cross-functional mandate that all departments are expected to contribute to G4J. Is it to convene meetings? what exactly? I hear the high-end, high-level, explanation. It's something that I know. I've been sitting here listening to this thing of G4J. I want to know what exactly are the activities that you are telling us with this money you want adjusted, and we as Parliament we must support. So if you can at least drill down to that level of specifics. For me, I think that is what I was actually trying to sort of understand with this. Then on page 306, there's money there that you have moved from sub-program 1.3, funding of business case for a drone sandbox corridor in the Western Cape. Please share with us what exactly is this, and is this a new program? What triggered this, which is in broadband, which would have been introduced now, have into the program. So those are my questions for now. Thanks.
Thank you, honorable members. Minister, over to you.
Thank you to the honorable members. The HOD will answer some of these questions, but I think I want to put this in proper context in terms of the Free Port of Saldanha. The Free Port of Saldanha, as you heard, has about 1 billion rand in assets. But if you look at the principle of sunken cost, we have over time already put in 2 billion rand in the Free Port of Saldanha. Now, obviously, with the global demand for energy, and specifically for green hydrogen energy, the Free Port of Saldanha has a lot of work to do in that particular space. But when you deal with a IDZ, there are multiple stakeholders, as you've heard, for example, of TNPA, the whole issue of the licensing, very complex matters that deals with a lot of technical assessments, and also the environmental impact assessment. So these are very complex matters and requires also a long pipeline and bringing on board very different technical expertise and market analysis and technical assessments that needs to be done. You would have seen there's a 4.6 million rand also for the master plan for the IDZ in this particular regard. So in this particular context, you would have seen that originally there was a staff establishment of 52 in terms of the recovery plan. It is now down to 36, but actually there's about 25 people on board in the Free Port of Saldanha. I had extensive negotiations with the Provincial Treasury, extensive negotiations with the Department of the Premier, extensive negotiations also with the Free Port of Saldanha that I visited it last week. I had some discussions last night with a company that is investing in green hydrogen from Finland. And all of these things, particularly issues relating to licensing and applications and assessments, these are very complex particular matters. We have deliberately also assessed the work of the Free Port of Saldanha. And over time, we have seen that there is a need for some structural changes in terms of the recovery plan. And what you are now seeing is that this body need a very small amount given the scale and the scope of the asset value and the sunken cost. 25 million is really a little amount given the context, but this has to be understood within the context. There is a cash flow position. They, in fact, have asked us earlier in the year for more money. We've deliberately and intentionally said no more money because there were some governance issues. The chair resigned and some members resigned, and I wanted a much more closer hands-on approach. And so I have now asked the department to develop a dashboard. I want to see real results, real action, real delivery, and on a weekly basis, there are now monitoring meetings, and on a monthly basis, I will now report back to the Minister of Finance as well as the Western Cape Provincial Cabinet. So that is in relation to the question of Honourable Member Constable. You have referred to issues of resolutions that you want to take as a member of this committee, that is normal, that is fine once we leave this meeting. Honourable, the issues of the filling of the posts and the issues of the rural, what does the G4J means in the rural context? The HOD will answer that. But I think members of this committee will know that we have just tabled also the MERO, which is the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook. And this government is a evidence-based governance modalities that we follow. And given the fact that we now have the MERO is the Municipal Economic Intelligence and Data Formations. So we use that now to determine where spatially in the rural areas we need to invest more. If you look at the latest MERO, you would have seen some growth in the Central Karoo, specific focus areas in the rural areas. We have seen some specific growth areas. In terms of what that means specifically, I'm going to ask the HOD to speak to that. Honourable Member Nkondlo, I'm going to give the broader context, but the more specific detail that you've requested, I'm going to ask the HOD to speak to that. You asked specifically, what is the G4J? What does it entail? What is it that we do? Number one, as you know, we have about 7 pillars of the growth for job strategy. You know that we have to create about a 1 trillion rand economy. That is in about doubling the size of the economy from more than about 500 billion to 1 trillion rand. You know that we want to create 600,000 new jobs in the economy in the Western Cape. You know that we want to create a 5% GDP growth rate by the year 2035 in specific terms. But there are certain pillars that must help us to do this. The pillar number one is to stimulate investment. That's why you ask us, what are we going to do specifically next year? We will drive the investment summit here in the Western Cape. That will be a main task and responsibility of this department, obviously in liaison with the Department of the Premier. So our investment targets, for example, for the year 2030 is in the region of 70 billion. By the year 2035, our investment target is about 200 billion rand. So to facilitate investment in the economy, you cannot grow the economy unless you have major investments. And these are investments dealing with investments, growth at the airport of Cape Town, for example. There's a 20 billion rand investment that's currently happening at the waterfront. So we are doing, there's also another project here at the bridge, mixed-use housing development and a major investment here in Stellenbosch. Westgrove, for example, was specifically actively involved in engaging in terms of that particular investment. Last night, I had a dinner meeting with this department with a company, Salika from Finland, that is planning to put in a 50 billion rand investment. But those things don't happen. It needs skillful economic and technical diplomacy and technical engagements. So that is what this department is doing, and we are busy with a number of other economic diplomacy interventions, and there's a lot of red tape that this department needs to also help and assist investors so that they can overcome these particular red tape in this particular major developments. Apart from this investment, we are a member also of the Cabinet Committee on Infrastructure. We have also a Cabinet Infrastructure Committee. We monitor infrastructure spending. We have about 30 billion rand for the next 3 years for infrastructure from this government. This is schools, education, and also road infrastructure, particularly important repairs and maintenance. So we are part of that, and the Department of Infrastructure also feed into the growth for job strategy, because to grow the economy, you need proper infrastructure. So that's the second particular pillar of the growth for job strategy is to facilitate exports and also promote tourism. So export-led growth is for us fundamental in the Western Cape. You need a lot of work. In fact, this morning I met the South African Netherlands Business Chamber about future investment in exports to the European Union, for example, but also to the Netherlands. So export-led growth is very important. I think members of this committee will know that the Western Cape is responsible for 55% of South Africa's primary agricultural exports. We have also some export targets. Growing that particular issues for us is very important. Exports don't just simply happen. It requires a lot of skill, and both in this department and in Westgrowth, we have a lot of work in this particular regard. Thirdly, you cannot grow the economy without water security. Water security fill into the growth for job strategy as well as the energy. You cannot grow the economy unless you have energy security. I'm a member of the Water and Energy Security Council, but you also need a lot of innovation and technology. That's part of this particular process. In addition, skills development. You've heard Nizam speak about the role of skills development for the sector of the growth of the economy. So I think there's quite a lot of work in this particular space that we are doing from a growth for job strategy. In terms of, and these are not simply conceptual and philosophical stuff. These are very practical things that we do. For example, right now, we have a number of people from the skills development that is working at Cape Town International Airport. Right now, they're helping at the airport for the tourism readiness season, and they help with the e-arrivals at the airport. So, Chair, I'm going to end off there. I'm so passionate about it, but I think you are killing my passion.
Thank you, Minister. HOD, do you have anything to add on what the Minister has said and in terms of the questions that were asked by members?
I believe that my minister was a lot more eloquent in his response than I could have been. But perhaps if I could just add with respect to some of the points that the minister had made, and maybe to more of the specifics. So the easy issue around the OD redesign, it is incredibly important. We are trying to embark on a process where all of the department is along with us. A lot of the current structures are still appropriate, but it does need to be added on, or in certain cases the focus would be changed. But the time frame that we are aiming for, I'm aiming for the end of this financial year. But our OD officials and colleagues are saying it will probably be May. So I've accepted that because it does have to go through a consultation process, and we have to factor in the fact that we need National Department DPSA to actually also approve. So we can't necessarily predict the timelines to get those approvals. But certainly our finalized organogram that we want to ask for approval and submit, we're aiming for the end of this financial year. With regards to the Freeport, Minister had done, and I think was incredibly eloquent, but I think when we talk about the risk that is in the risk statement that's in the adjustment budget document, it's just we need to constantly make sure that the entities are adding value and that there isn't a duplication of services. And that requires ongoing conversations and collaboration between the entities and the department. And so it's just to really reflect that there is a risk, but we have quite a number of measures to make sure that we mitigate those risks as we go along. And we're constantly making sure and getting the assurance that we are getting value for money from the entities. Minister was incredibly eloquent about that. May I proceed, Chair, or is there somebody that wanted to ask a question? Okay. Minister was also talking, there was also a question around the focus on the rural jobs. Minister had explained why he's incredibly passionate about it. And making us do a lot more things than we had previously done. But the province and the department has been doing quite a lot in the rural areas. If you look at the rollout of investment, so we're looking at doing the investment summit next year. It's making sure that we work with the municipalities. So the investment projects that get tabled at the investment summit is a reflection not only of what's happening in the metro, but across the province. And we not just calling out and asking what those projects are. We're basically working with the municipalities so they can help develop those projects so we have viable, bankable projects that we can land at the investment summit. We're doing the same with the exports. So it's saying which companies could potentially lend themselves to exports. Are they aware of the opportunities? Do they need support in terms of some productivity to make it export ready for a particular market, or packaging or some training? So we're going through a process of that. Through our program 2, there's a lot of emphasis around capacitating companies around public procurement. Do they understand what government is looking for and how to tender? And then, of course, in tourism, our guys are all over the show because but tourism beauty is not restricted just to Table Mountain and the top 5, but it's across the province. But what we are looking in going forward, certainly in the next 5 years, is to say, how do we clear this better so they're not sort of, so they can come together and form an economic plan in each of the municipalities and the districts. And I think you'd see a lot of a greater emphasis on that in going forward, including a focus on the rural and agri-tourism, because that's something our minister is particularly passionate about. But in addition, the minister has also asked for us to have and host a municipal summit so that we can actually not do this top down, but actually with the municipalities and the leadership of those municipalities. And so we're planning an event to that extent next year. I'm going to ask Nizam to respond to program 7 and questions with regards to are we targeting enough in terms of the APP, please, Nizam.
Thank you, Joe, and I really want to thank the member for the question. I don't want her to walk away thinking that slow spending is a consequence of poor planning. So I'm just going to spend a very brief, I'll just explain how the program works and why we can overachieve our target so early in a financial year. So it's an experiential learning program. So these are kids that never had employment before. Many of them are straight from matric and they're not very productive. Companies through our partnerships undertake to provide up to 30 to 70,000 rands worth of training at their cost. And they're also not very productive. So we provide a stipend to compel these companies to take on these kids that's never been employed before, has not worked in those occupations before. So when we count the learner, when the learner is on our books. Now we have to pay those 12 months, and that's why we can demonstrate that we've met the target, the APP target, but the spend would be slower because we still have to pay those stipends and we don't pay the stipends in advance. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is very often it is private sector that we're working with and we've got a high level of compliance. So very often we will onboard a learner and the evidence from those companies before we disperse the funds may only arrive up to 3-4 months late. And then we will pay everything in arrears and after that the payment happens every single month. And that's why you'll see it's 23%. The last time I checked, it's about 45% last week or so. And this happens every year. We try to make the net as wide as possible to get new companies in to help us with the job creation. But every time we have new companies, we have to share with them what our processes are so that they can participate. So with respect to planning, national government often will tell you the cost of a job is around about R1 million to create a job. Now, it cost us, our calculation shows just over 20,000 Rand. The study done on our program by National Treasury and Provincial Treasury showed that our jobs, our full-time jobs, is as little as 16,000 Rand to create. Now, I'm not aware of a single program that's as cost-effective in creating a full-time job. With respect to the confidence that we have, specifically with National Treasury, we are one of the largest recipients of National Treasury funding for stipends. We win that funds every single year. Our last allocation from National Treasury was over 80 million Rand. For job creation. Now, National Treasury is not going to give us money if we spend poor, there's poor governance in place, or there's no outcome. I want to impress upon the member that our program compels everyone that completes the program for full-time employment after the program. And again, we're not aware of any program that's as cost effective. I just want to show one small difference this year as opposed to other years. Before our BPO, the money was guaranteed across the MTEF. So which means that we can tell a company very early on, we're going to have money for you next year. So when that company goes out on campaigns to win new work here to service the rest of the world, they can do so knowing there's a good guarantee that the money is going to be there because it's earmarked across 3 years. This year, we don't have the earmark allocation, so we can only really tell companies the money is available in March, which means that now they have to go abroad in April, May, June to attract new work so that we can service that work from here. But now they have to start much later in attracting that work as opposed to a guaranteed MTEF where we don't have to wait until March. So companies are also that they can start onboarding learners much later than what they can do in previous years because we don't have that MTEF anymore. I just want to also impress upon the member, lastly, that this happens every year. We plan based upon companies providing the evidence on time. Companies are always late, but they are private sector and we are kind to them. So we do wait and we don't want to exclude them. Thank you.
Chair, I'll be very brief now in relation to, I know there's one person that I share with Honourable Member Stoffel. That's why I love her. And Honourable Member Constable. And that is that we must really invest massively in rural economic development. And for that reason, as you heard by the HOD, I have now directed that we will next year have a municipal economic and tourism summit, because municipalities have economic assets, they have tourism assets, and I would very much like us to work and understand fully how can we tap into the economic assets of that local town and what are the sort of economic intelligence and data that we have through the Mero and the Pero, and how can we assist them and also bringing on board other partners in the ecosystem to grow our rural economies. So that is going to take place next year. Part of our unit here is local economic development. We will partner with all the other departments in terms of the whole of government approach and so see how we can unlock the economic growth, because the trend of urbanization can only be reversed if people have economic opportunities in the rural areas and have proper economic data, proper economic assessments. I'm not talking about fly-by-night projects. I'm not talking about projects. The Karoo is full of projects. It started, it ended, and there's nothing left. I'm talking about systemic economic infrastructure and investment for the next 50 years. And that is an ambition that we have, because what we do not believe in is in economic projects. And we've seen in the Karoo, when you drive through the Karoo, you see a project that started, and today when you go through there, the project has collapsed. We want to make a real meaningful economic investment that will change the landscape of rural towns.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, HOD. Honourable members, the time obviously is also against us. I'm going to allow last round of hands, and if we don't get to all the answers, the Minister and the HOD can provide them in writing. I see the hands of Honourable Mkondro and Honourable Constable. Thank you. In that order.
Well, thank you, Chair. let me actually
muted.
As the last statement you just made now. And so colleagues of the department would recall that this is a matter, I think.
Honorable Gondlo, can you start afresh? Because I think you went mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to say thank you to the Minister for the summit she is referring to look at the rural economy and indeed move away from, boutique, many various of range of grocery list of projects and take up systemic, systematic intervention when you consider what is available, understanding the rural economy. And that is why the Mero actually is able to tell what exactly is happening in that particular economy and how do you bolster that economy to enable municipalities' local economic development, something that we've been raising with this department for some time. And I very much appreciate that the minister is taking that particular leadership in as far as this is concerned. I understand that at some point the department would have also had West Grow doing some kind of investment engagements with local. I'm hoping some kind of a consolidated approach, will be done, because for me, that's why I always ask what exactly is DDED going to when it says implementing. Speaking high level, sometimes you speak over our heads because you speak to us about what G4J seeks to achieve. We want to know what exactly are you as a department in your activities are going to be doing. So I'm very happy with that one summit, and I'm hoping, Minister, that at some point that summit also will come and consider in the urban spaces or districts, particularly like Cape Metro, where you've got townships, because township economy is also another space we've been raising, our voices with this department when it comes to township informal economy, because so long as you only fix the formal economy, you are subjecting people who are not in the formal economy and not by their own design, to continue to wait for crumbs, because you are choosing as a government not to directly intervene, not only through projects, which you start here, you finish this time, but you look at the very ecosystem, and something that we've been lamenting and just not getting any person hearing what we are saying. So I'm hoping, Minister, that from that one of the rural summit, it will come to the townships and we can really balance, whilst we are fixing the formal economy, which is important to carry our economy, but we must deal with the leakage and the leak of the informal sector, which must be fending themselves, against bullets, against extortion and everything else. So that was the first comment I wanted to make, I think, with what a minister says they will be doing. My one last question, Chair, which I would want to be assisted to understand. In page 303, in program 5, we see that the additional appropriation of about 33 million to this program, from rollovers, environments, and there's a 23, I think, a million of other adjustments. I'm just not sure. Perhaps I'm unable to read because I've been trying to look at where is this money, what exactly is it this money gonna be doing or financing. I see, I think in the rollovers there, there's some explanation. I see there in the environments, perhaps it's me, maybe colleagues, if they can show me, this total figure, of almost 33 million where is this money going to be, what exactly is it going to be doing as it's been adjusted? So I think that was just my last question in terms of getting clarity about funds of Program 5. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Constable, is your hand still up, or I see you lowered it?
Chair, no, I lowered it because I'm covered by the input of Member Nkondlo, but I would also like to appreciate what the MEC is saying about the Karoo. And MEC, if possible, I would really want to have an appointment with you next year, early next year, to discuss some issues with regards to this. Thank you.
Approved.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much
for the quick reply. There was one question that maybe you might want to assist the HOD or the Minister.
Sorry,
comfortable.
Chair, we can provide the exact numbers, Chair, but the bulk of that is for the Freeport that we just spoke about. So nearly 30 million was essentially channeled through to them to assist with their short-term cash flow requirements. And as Minister said, is they are looking going forward at cost containment plus landing the investment that will lead to their self-sustainability, but more than that, so that they can land investment to create jobs. Chair, with your permission, there were just two questions that wasn't really responded to, and I just wanted a quick opportunity to deal with that. So one was really around the bit of money that went through to the G4J systems and the reporting. Because there are 10 departments across this province that are currently doing a range of G4J projects, there's quite a number of oversight committees, and the oversight and the governance requires quite a bit of reporting. What we've done is we've developed more or less an in-house system to make sure that we're able, one, to capture what those projects are about, what their plans are, their milestones, their outcomes, their outputs, but then also the reporting of the progress against those projects. So we have always line of sight over what is actually happening within the G4J projects across the board. Our ministers asked for some enhancements. So you want a dashboard, so it's quite easy to see, not having to go into a lot of the detail. So what you see there is essentially a bit of budget so that our CEI in the Department of the Premier are able to do some project enhancements to make it more effective and the information a lot more clearer. So that is what that money is for, is to assist and facilitate oversight and governance. And then with regards to the shift for the drone opportunities, this is a considerable growth opportunity. One, it will contribute significantly to the logistic challenges that will enhance our logistics within the province. But it also will help deepen the competitiveness of a number of our industries. And I think Minister is also the Minister of Agriculture, and we see what drones have done for agriculture in terms of providing evidence and data to allow the farmers to make better decisions around crops, et cetera, the same benefits are likely to accrue to other industries. And this is besides the manufacturing opportunities the drone industry provides. So the bit of money is essentially around a collaboration to develop a business case, to do a sandbox, regulatory sandbox in the province, and we're doing this in collaboration with national departments and the Air Controller, I think. So it's really around making sure we're evidence-based. We have the business case that allows for the collaboration to go forward. I'm finished.
Thank you, Chair. Now you are pressed for time, so I will stop there, although I would love to talk more about the work that Wesco has been doing, because I've received the other day a very nice report about the second quarterly performance. But as you say, we are running against time.
Yes, thank you, Minister. There are questions, obviously, that were not answered, if they can provide us in writing. Now, I would like to give a member public that are present on the platform. Sharon, our procedural officer, are there members of the public that have reported to be joining us meeting that would like to give their input?
Chairperson, I do not see any members of the public present on the platform, and I have also not received any prior indication.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, we coming now to the end of our deliberation on the report. I'm going to allow Minister and the HOD to provide a closing remark, and then we will move to our deliberation on the vote that has been presented by the department. Minister, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think I'm going to conclude with what the CFO started with this presentation. On page 1 of the presentation, she said, an adjustment is in the middle of each financial year. The adjustment estimate process provides an opportunity for the department to make a permissible revisions of the budget in response to changes that has happened. And therefore, we have presented in this meeting exactly that stuff that is permissible revisions within the budget. And I want to request that the committee adopts our report.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. We will consider. HOD, any closing remark?
None from my side, but thank you for also all the board members as well as the CEOs and their teams online. And as well as my team that's sitting in this room. Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks for the vigilance of the Standing Committee.
Thank you, Minister, HOD, the various entities under your department, HOD. We just want to really thank you from our side, for really indulging us in your programs, and that you able to sit in the hot seat and deliberate, very eloquently in terms of what you are doing and with lots of passion. I just want to say thank you very much. And again, we won't be seeing each other this year. And if you are going on holiday, be safe on the road. Don't drink and drive, and enjoy. Thank you very much. You can be excused as we are going to deliberate whether we are going to accept this report or we're going to reject it. Thank you very much.
Please accept it, sir.
Thank you, Minister. We have heard your plea. We'll consider your plea. You are excused, colleagues. Honourable members, that was the department. That's the report before us. What I'm going to do now, per procedure, is that I'm going to request hands for support, acceptance of the report by the department. Honourable members, you can raise your hands on the platform. See Derek Wessel, Honourable Mbombo, Honourable, see a hand. Honourable Ngondlo, are you in support of the report?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so in support is Honourable Wessel, Honourable Mbombo, Honourable Constable, Honourable Bosman. So in that order, have you got it, Sharin, in terms of recording?
It has been recorded in the transcript, Chairperson.
And myself.
And yourself, yes.
Those that are against? Please lower your hands that are in support of the report. Now the hand of Honourable Brinkhayes and Honourable Ngondlo. Those are the two that are against the report. Sharin, you're gonna help us in terms of writing the report, but before we do that, I note Honourable Ngondlo, maybe she wants to make an input with regards to the reasons for her objection of the report. Honourable Ngondlo.
Thank you, Chair. Indeed, I would like to substantiate why we do not support. We don't support this adjustment because we believe it's not responsive to the persistent calls to this department around the informal economy.
and the issue of the scale on year has been seeing budget reallocated, like now a taken away to fund goods and services of other sub-programs, and also the 4.6 million reduce of compensation of employees, whilst this department must effectively deliver on the mandate of the G4J. And lastly, about the issue, we are concerned about this 20 million to fund cash flow issues for a public entity in Freeport Saldanha, which is supposed to not be a liability, but also to assist government to deliver its economic mandate. Thank you.
Noted, Honorable Ngonto. Honorable Brinkes, do you want to express your view?
I'm covered, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Shireen, I will allow you to flag the report.
Chairperson, I want to double check if the reasons that Member Nkondlo just gave, if she wants to have it included in the report.
Honorable Ngonto, do you want the reason to be included in the report? I see the hand of Honorable Postman.
Chairperson, the practice is generally for the reasons and the discussions to be included in the minutes of the meeting and for the report to be as standard as possible.
I'm in support, because otherwise we're gonna be taking forever to finalize the report. Honorable Ngonto, I see your hand is up.
Chair, I think we just must be consistent in practice and application of how we do things. I did ask this even with finance in the morning, because I observed this practice having been done. It was done with DORA. It has been done where, those that are support, they would provide their reasons to support, and such will be captured in the report and in the mandate. So I'm not sure what is the difference now if those that are supporting do not have reasons, we have reasons. I don't see any legality, to exclude those reasons.
Yes, Honorable Ngonto, I think there is no, we are not against your views being expressed in the final report. It's definitely going to be expressed, but I think what we are saying is that it will be expressed in the minute, and that's the report that we go to adopt. But for now, it has been noted that you are against the report. So as the report is going to be flagged right now, it's going to reflect that you have objected to the report. However, the details of your objection will be available in the minutes. I hope that clarifies. Shireen, can we flag the
Chairperson?
Committee report? Yeah.
Chairperson, I know that we are pressed for time, but can I just request a brief recess just of 2 minutes just to consult with you?
Okay.
Is that okay, Chairperson?
Honorable members, I've just consulted with the procedural officer. There is, I see Nkontlo's hand is up before I make a ruling. Honorable Nkontlo.
Chair, I wanted to check whether you are indicating that the inputs that we've made cannot be put as part of the report but minutes. If so, I'm trying to understand, is there a ruling that states that it cannot be done, that the substantiation that one would want to make, whether for or against, cannot form part of the committee report?
Thanks, Honorable Nkontlo. Based on the consultation with the procedural officer, is that there is no rule that say it cannot be done. But I think just because, the things must be captured correctly, she needs to capture it now. So my ruling is that let's just get it in the minutes, and then obviously, so that it's captured correctly in the form that you have provided her with. Am I clear? As we have done with other reports.
So in a way, Chair, you are ruling that it's not included in the report, but it goes to the minutes.
Yes, it's part of the minutes, yeah.
Yes, that's why I was asking whether is it because such cannot be done. So why you are not accepting it to be form part of the report.
No, it means that if it has to be done, we'll have to be off to just make sure that the content is captured correctly, to ensure that it is really, it's going to be a time-consuming matter. But it has to be reported. We have it on record. It's on the hand side. So there is no problem in having it in the report or having it in the minutes. So there is not really any difference in terms of the recording of your views, expressing your views against the report. So it will be there, it will be captured, it will be on record. Sharon, are you too far from flight in the report?
Chair, just the report, have you made a ruling that it must contain the reasons for the non-support?
Yes, the reasons, no, the report now, I think what needs to happen now is that the report will show that there is minority, obviously, that have indicated that they are against the report. So what I am also saying is that then what we can do is that you can capture the reasons in the minutes so that it is reflected in the report, because the minutes is the report of Parliament as well.
All right, Chair, I'm going to flight the report. I have captured Member Nkondlo's reasons for not supporting, and then you can just lead me as we go through the draft report now. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right. Can you see that, Chairperson?
Yes, just expand it a little bit.
I've listed the reasons there. I was typing as Member Nkondlo was speaking.
So you have already included the reasons. Honorable members, I put it before you. Are we including the reasons in this report?
Chairperson?
I see Honorable Bosman's hand is up.
Chairperson, I'm going to ask that we revert to the practice that we follow in the WCPP and all other standing committees and include the reasons in the minutes. This report is not like a negotiating mandate, like the DORA, for instance. This report is still going to the Budget Committee, and members will have an opportunity to debate the various votes in the House. So these reasons might as well change before it goes to the House. So my request would be that we keep the report as a standard and that we record the committee's decision, the majority's decision to support the vote, and we include the decision by the African National Congress in Al-Jamaa to express their minority view in terms of Rule 90, and that we include the reasons for support and the reasons for non-support in the minutes, as is the standard practice.
Chief Whip, you are very, very clear. Thank you very much. Honorable Mbombo, I see your hand is up.
The Chief Whip has covered in the sense that, remember, there will be 2 sessions, other platforms where report from the committees will be, or whatever they use. So at the budget, and also when we are doing in terms of the reading debate, in terms of the debates. Now the issue is about, you might have reasons that are here, and then you ended up saying something else when you are debating. So that's why we have to separate what the committee has deliberated in regard to your view is part of the minutes. So it's going to be there as part of the minutes. But now it's about support the vote or not support the vote. It is all what is required for the report. But the minutes will include all what has been indicated. Thank you.
I think what you're saying is basically the ruling that I've made, but I see Honorable Gondlo's hand is up again.
Chair, I'm gonna accept the majority of the views that are on this matter. But I want to say to members, it can't be you say something is standard practice whilst there is no rule that enables it. The fact that people have done something in a particular way and there is a request that is outside of practice, it cannot be made as if there is something wrong substantively about that position. So I'm saying, because now I think the Chief Whip, with yourself, with your ruling, Chairperson, and Member Mbombo, already in terms of if we were to take a vote on the matter, obviously my view is a minority view. And all I was requesting is that the views be recorded as part of the report, because that is the report of what we're discussing in this particular committee. Yes, minuted, and actually being the formal position which is represented in the meeting. So if that is the case, I accept that, Chair, but I would want us to be very cautious of making standard practice as if it is a rule. That is why from the onset I said, is there something as a ruling that actually says what I am suggesting is not something that can be done? If it is not, I think it is a matter of discussion so that we then agree to disagree. So I take that as you are saying, not because it is standard practice, because it may be standard practice, and that is why I'm saying there are practices that members, using the fact that they are majority, they would take up. It doesn't mean it is practice for all of us who are a minority and will have to raise our views as part of a democratic process here in these multi-party committees. Thank you very much.
Noted. Thank you, Honorable Ngontlo. Head. Thank you, Shirin. You can remove. And then can I request that I go through the report? The report reads thus. Report of the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism, Vote 12, Economic Development and Tourism in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill B2 2024, dated 28 November 2024, as follows. The Standing Committee on Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism having deliberated on the subject of Vote 12, Economic Development and Tourism, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill B2 2024 referred to it in accordance with Standing Rule 188, reports that it supports the vote. In accordance with the Standing Rule 90, the African National Congress and Al-Jamaa expressed their minority view to not support the vote. Report to be considered. Can I see hand in terms of seconding the report? Derek Wessel, second the report proposed, and the seconder, Honorable Constable. Thank you. I see hand of Bosman, you are late. Hand of Mbombo, you are late. Or do you have any input, Honorable Bosman?
No input, Chairperson.
Honorable members, thank you very much. We came to the end of our deliberation on the report. The report as such has been accepted and it will be debated in the House. It will be referred to the House for members of Parliament to approve. Thank you very much for your patience and have a lovely day and see you tomorrow.